Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Somebody needs to write a letter to Patrick Harvie and explain to him that he's no longer in the cabinet, he's no longer in the government, and that his views and opinions are now, much the same as they always were, worthless. Only now nobody is even pretending to listen to them. He is delusional and he is arrogant, and his arrogance extends to the fact that even though he is now just a voiceless little backbencher for whom nobody ever cares, he still thinks that his opinions hold sway, and he is telling the new First Minister, John Swinney, that he must keep the Greens policies on board. He must not abandon all those things that Patrick Harvie likes. Rent control to destroy the rent industry. Heat pumps in new builds to destroy the construction industry. You know, all these things. Let's not build roads. We don't want people moving. Good little Marxist that he is. And so he's sitting there demanding these things, not realising, of course, that nobody is paying the least bit of attention to him. And everybody is thinking of how can we really reverse all the damage done by this bunch of child-abusing Marxists. Well, they just don't care anymore, do they? Let's have a look to see why Patrick Harvie is stamping his tiny, degenerate, deviant feet. Here goes. So, Patrick Harvie demands. He is not in a position to demand. Anyway, Patrick Harvie demands John Swinney doesn't axe madcap green policies as the new First Minister set to be voted in. Now, of course, he's in. It's fine. He's done. He is the First Minister. But who on earth does Patrick Harvie think he is, that he is in a position to demand anything? Of course these things have to be reversed. To not do so would be perverse, in much the same way as Patrick Harvie. And what can he do? There is nothing he can do. And if tomorrow he said, no, actually, you know what? These heat pumps, they're bullshit. Let's get rid of them. Let's dual that A9. People are dying. People died yesterday. Let's dual the A9. And did all these things. What's Patrick Harvie going to do? Grab his pot of gold and fuck off back under a rainbow? Because that's all he's got, isn't it? The Scottish Greens are accused of attempting to hold the new First Minister to ransom. Under what? Under what? They haven't got anything. They've got no bargaining chips anymore. This is as the party demands he keep unpopular policies such as the gas boiler plan, rent controls and a conversion therapy ban, because it's important that they abuse children. Patrick Harvie demanded these things. He's been accused of holding John Swinney to ransom before he even takes over the role from Humza Yousaf. The key Nicola Sturgeon ally was elected to the role yesterday, of course, but he's made a backroom deal with Kate Forbes to ensure she would not stand, and held discussions with activist Graham McCormick to dissuade him. And of course there was stick and carrot with McCormick. Wouldn't have worked with Forbes, but stick and carrot. It was all carrot with Kate Forbes though. After he was officially voted in, he was immediately urged by the Scottish Greens to keep a number of the policies spearheaded by the weirdos when they were in government. This is despite them being unpopular with the public, and part of the reason the coalition deal came to a shuddering end. People were fed up with the Greens and their pushing of sexualisation of children, their pushing of the abuse of children, their mass sterilisation programme that they were backing. They were also fed up with the extremely expensive and pointless heat pump scheme, and with rent controls which would make life harder for all tenants. And every single policy they had, which was always making Scotland worse. Every single policy made Scotland worse. And all because that inadequate little deviant man, the deviant imp, said, I want to be in control. I want to destroy the economy. I don't want growth. I don't want people being able to move. Why? I don't know. It's what leprechauns do, isn't it? Mr Harvie demanded that rent controls, which have been blamed for the housing crisis in 5 local authority areas, heating standards, which include a ban on gas boilers and wood-burning stoves, and conversion therapy being outlawed. So if you've got a child, this is the conversion therapy law that he was bringing in. If you got a child and said, Mummy, I'd like to be a girl now, and the parent went, no, you're a boy, you're not a girl, it's just a little phase, we'll all move on now. Go and sit down and have your dinner, son. At that moment, the parent would have been made a criminal under Harvie's laws. because this is what he wants. He seems to want the feminisation of little boys. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Makes you wonder. Anyway, all three of these policies have been proven to be controversial across the country and could be scrapped under Mr Swinney, who hinted at dealing with legislation on a case-by-case basis instead of relying on the Greens for help. And of course this means reaching out for the unionist parties at Holyrood. And of course he's got no worry with that. Like I say, the Labour backed him 70% of the time, 75% of all votes or something like that. Labour voted with them. And so if Labour won't, then the Tories will. He'll get 95% of his policies through without worrying. That's the whole point. Don't need the Greens. And so little shards like him can sit on the back benches, claim their money, and then get voted out in the next election because the SNP will not be putting down Greens as their second choice. That's the only reason there's so many Greens in Holyrood in the first place, is because the SNP, a lot of SNP voters put Greens as second choice. They won't in future. That's undoubtedly true. Anyway, Harvie said Scotland needs a period of stable government. Yes, it would make a change. Mr Swinney knows that if he is to have our support, it must be on a basis of progressive policies. Swinney no longer needs your support, you sad little turd. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. He's moaning on about the fact that he can't get his own way, stamps feet, grinds teeth, huffs off, tiny... that scene in Tom and Jerry when the little mouse sort of puts his shoulders up, head down and stomps off? That is Swinney. No, it's not. That is Harvie. Conservative Chairman Craig Hoy said the extremist Marxist Greens should never have been invited into government by Nicola Sturgeon and John Swinney in the first place. But no sooner has the man who helped broker the disastrous Butte House Agreement become SNP leader than Patrick Harvie is holding him to ransom. Swinney must immediately rule out any pact, official or otherwise, with the anti-growth Greens, whose malign, cancerous in my word, influence can be seen in the SNP's gender self-ID policy, its opposition to new oil and gas projects, the botched deposit return scheme, and the failure to upgrade the A9 and A96. In fact, anything that's good for Scotland, the Greens were against it. Anything that encouraged growth, that brought people in, that made business easier, the Greens were against it. And as for turning little boys into little girls and the mass sterilisation of an entire generation, well, we all know what the Greens are, don't we? Coming up. Now, I must make the point, and I am fortunate that I can do and say things because I'm not in Scotland. Some of the terminology I use currently, if I was in Scotland, I would be breaking the law, or at least be investigated under the Hate Crime Act. Fortunately, I'm not within that jurisdiction, and so I'm fine in saying it. So yes, Patrick Harvie, you are a deviant imp. There's nothing you can do about it. Your policies are at deviancy with normalcy. That's the definition of deviant. How other people infer my usage, of course, is an entirely different matter. But that's fine. I can imply, as long as I don't outright say things. But we all know, don't we? We all know. Anyway, the sooner that Patrick Harvie knows that he is now nothing, yesterday's imp, a man of no seasons, then the best will move. The best he can do is just sit there, shut up, scythe on, take his pay, and then at the next election, bugger off out of politics and try and find a job. I would say stacking shelves in Sainsbury's, but he could only go up to the middle of the biscuit aisle, couldn't he? Couldn't get up the top. Anyway, we'll stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. I will speak to you later. Bye.